a podcast to honor the gods.
This better come with a sacrifice.
Deus Ex Media.
Hello and welcome to Content and Capable, a podcast all about following your passions while still feeling like a proper adult. My name's Sam and I'm your host. This week I spoke with Zac from Belated Binge all about catching up on movies and TV shows that we missed in our childhoods. Welcome to Content and Capable, Zac. It's lovely to have you on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, for those who might not know or recognize your voice or your name, could you explain who you are and what you do on the internet?
Sure. So, as you mentioned, my name is Zac. I host a podcast. It's called Belated Binge, where I go through some of my favorite forms of entertainment that I nearly missed out on because I'm just perpetually late to everything that is good. Right now, I am re-binging, if you will, the Harry Potter series. And that's, I assume, how you learned of my existence to reach out, probably through our mutual acquaintance, Christina, over at the restricted section.
But yeah, it's so fascinating to to speak to someone who has been in a similar position as myself, because I had a similar kind of thing as a child. I didn't watch much like TV shows or movies. I was aware of things through pretending to know about them or like guessing, but you know, sometimes someone will ask me, "Oh, you know this, right?" It's like, "No, I don't. I don't know this." I can nod and smile if you want me to, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the person who has the endless supply of movie quotes just at their disposal pretty much at all times, to my wife's absolute horror. I will bust them out at any time because she remembers nothing from movies. I'm also the one who is obsessive enough to be watching the movies and look for mistakes that the continuity director makes because they drive me crazy, and I have a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, and like it's a fascinating like aspect of like watching media. It's like, how nitpicky are we? Do we want to be? You know, with that?
I'm obnoxious about it. I know this about myself, and so I watch a lot of things by myself, so I can only drive myself nuts. But it is typically about 4 years after everybody else watched it, for whatever reason.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, what then sparked you to create a podcast about, you know, reliving those experiences? Well, not reliving, but like finally experiencing these quote unquote cultural cornerstones.
Yeah, so I think my podcast was kind of born of like three primary things all coming together at one intersection and just crashing into each other's in horrific fire. The first is my background in radio. Once upon a time, back in the college days and soon after, I was working in radio. I really enjoyed listening to your latest episode with Hope. It brought me back to about 10 years ago me, which also made me sad to realize that was 10 years ago and I'm getting fucking old. But
look, yeah, Hope, like, I love Hope, and no, like, Hope is an amazing human being that I stumbled across and was like, this is such an awesome human being. But I walked away from that podcast recording like a little bit, I was thinking career-wise, I was like, ooh, I don't know. This is like, she's way more successful than I am, and she's like 4 years younger, and I'm just about to graduate university, and I'm sitting here like mildly terrified. So, but yeah, sorry, continue.
No, you're good, because I related to so many things that you guys were talking about because I went through it. I was in college. Life things happened. I was looking for work, And it just so happened I was a dual major in college, and one of those was a sport management degree. And the local talking head for sports radio came to just like speak to one of my classes and asked if anybody wanted to tour the station. And I was like, yeah, because I want to do that one day. Like, that was why I was in a sport management class to begin with, was in hopes that I could get into like sports broadcasting type stuff. And and I went over. I was literally the only person that wanted to go, and I went. We basically shared a parking lot with the station and the university. So we went over. He kind of showed me around, and a few, I don't know, like weeks later, I was literally in a almost a hell of a life transition period. I was in a hotel in North Carolina, which is about 4 states away from where I live, considering an actual move. And I got, things weren't going well with that particular venture. And I got an email from him asking like, hey, any interest in, some part-time work? Yep, guess we're going back. Cause I just, yeah. So I started doing some like 5 hours a week of just board op stuff, and started learning and kind of working my way up through that. So as you guys were talking about just kind of getting your foot in the door and how you have people with some experience that give you a shot for no reason under the sun, I'm like, yeah, that's quite literally how radio works. Yep. That was my, that was my experience as well. So
I think that there's been a few guests, and I think every person I speak to who works in radio has that similar experience of like, someone gives them a break. Someone turns around and goes, I'm going to trust you, and you're going to, and you then, take that leap, and it's like, oh shit, I can do this.
Yeah, for sure. So I did that for like 4 years, and it was about the time that my now wife and I had kind of gotten together, and we just started living together, and I was living the small market radio life, which is basically on the poverty line. Take side jobs with I was DJing, I was MCing, I was I took a job in a kiosk of the mall trying to buy people's jewelry off their neck. I did car detailing in the wintertime, jobs. It was nonsensical ways of just literally trying to make money and survive. And I also had these degrees that I was not paying for because I was on a pay-as-you-earn plan, and all I was doing is accumulating interest. And we decided it was time to, she was driving super far for work. So we moved to like the big city of our state, and where she was already working, I got a advertising agency job, and I haven't looked back. And things have gone, well in that front. But I always missed it. I missed having a microphone in my face. I missed just getting that creative freedom to, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just different, I tell people all the time that radio was the most fun that I have ever had making money. I just wasn't making enough to stay in it.
Radio's the kind of thing that no matter how much you're being paid, it always feels like you're on a shoestring budget as well. Like, the amount of like chaos. I work at a community radio station. We don't have any money. I don't get paid for any of my work, which is fine. I have come to terms with the fact that I would never be paid for my work there, at least in the near future. And the other day we were having conversations about drilling holes in the walls between the studios to try to get the air conditioning to circulate a little bit better, because the only 2 rooms in the whole building that have air conditioning are two like main studios. And it's notoriously one's worse than the other. And it's like, well, how can we make this better? At one stage, I walked in a few months ago and someone was hanging from the roof playing with yet again, the air conditioning. I often turn up and someone is like painting something or putting up posters or pulling down posters. It's like ridiculous stuff, and I've done more than one occasion. I've been a part of the ridiculousness.
For sure.
And it's like amazing. It's this weird manic energy that like everyone has at the same time that like we all agree is totally normal for being in a radio station.
Oh yeah, we had, so our little cluster had 5 stations. And when I tell you I did everything from board op to the 3 a.m. like get up and get in there for morning show, like production, literally background production, to weather reads, to I literally like spent time in the like scaffolding, running wires for engineering. And that was all in the first stints before I actually got on air at all, and then that was its own beast of growth and opportunity and just like a hell of a lot of fun. But yeah,
it's so much fun. If there was one suggestion I had for anyone, is to go and work on a radio station, even for a short amount of time. It doesn't have to be on air or anything, but being a part of that kind of community is one of the best things I think I've ever done in my life.
Oh yeah,
it's so fun.
It is. It's a blast. It really is. It was a blast. I miss it every day, and I guess that's how you end up with a podcast. Yeah,
it seems to be as my friends would say, the radio to podcast pipeline is quite big nowadays. There's a lot of people doing it. Not just like indie podcast creators like you and I, but like every other radio station as well, converting everything into podcast form.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I have opinions about that. I don't necessarily want to talk about because that's theoretically my future employers right there. So, but
I heard nothing.
Yeah, nothing whatsoever.
Nothing.
But yeah, it's very fascinating. And I wish that like more people like understood radio, because I feel like I think then everyone would understand at least the amount of effort that goes in to produce, a 5-second someone yelling into a microphone. Because it's not like every white guy with a podcast where you just put mics in front of people and you chat. It's the whole audio engineering and everything else like that, which I find so fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It was a really, really good time in my life. I wouldn't trade it for, well, I'd say I would trade it for a few things. Winning lottery ticket would probably be among those. But yeah, it was a great time, and that's like I said, that it gave me that itch. So from the moment that I got out of it, podcasting was kind of in the back of my mind of just like maybe being a way to stay connected to it, stay attached to it when I wasn't able to. Because I started with the idea of maybe, just maybe, I'd be able to find a part-time gig in, where we went outside of my full-time job. And then I realized that a full-time job, when you're a salaried employee, is a lot more than just like a clock in, clock out situation. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to then spend my off hours literally going to another job just to work in radio. So podcasting was it, but I didn't understand RSS feeds, like all these. If they were there, Anchor didn't exist. The Spreakers, the Podbeans, all of these things, like if they were there, I didn't know what the hell they were. So it was always sort of just kind of needed the right place, right time, right topic. And this one was weird in how it kind of came around. I noticed myself engaging in these like review podcasts of the stuff that I was enjoying watching and stuff, and I'm like, these people don't work in the industry. These are not like experts. They don't have sources. This is because in my mind, I always thought that if it wasn't going to be like country music, which is the format that my show was hosted on back in the day, which is something you do need to be like plugged into in order to have anything to say that's worth a damn, or sports, particularly the NBA that I'm completely obsessed with. Again, you need to be plugged into, you need to have sources, you need to have like all of these connections to. I'm like, there's no, like, why the hell would anybody listen to me talk about any of these things when they can get this information from people who actually work in it? And they're the ones I listen to. But I was listening to all these reviews. I'm like, these are just people. And they're just enjoying talking about the things that they enjoy. And I was like, that's the entry point. Now, how do I, how do I narrow it down? Like, how do I decide what those topics are going to be, what those series that I could cover are? And I was like, well, I do seem to have this theme going on where I'm super late to the party on all of this, awesome shit that I'm now, obsessing over and going down the rabbit hole of all of the podcasts and YouTube videos that exist within these forms of entertainment. And I'm like, well, you just got your podcast idea. When are you going to actually sit down and do it?
Yeah, and then it's the whole, let's sit down and actually do this thing, and figuring out how to put out a podcast, which is a whole process. Sometimes my brain hurts trying to explain the process involved, and just, like, it's not hard, but at the same time, it's way more complicated than it should be.
Yeah, there's complexities, and it's not hard to sit down, turn the microphone on, and talk. It's a lot harder than people think it is.
100%.
But that's not the hard part, though. The hard part is the prep. It's the hours of editing afterwards. It's the figuring out how distribution actually works, and then growing it afterwards. Like, I just put hours into this thing. How do I get literally anyone to hear it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's, I think, I've said this a few times, but I had a professor whose rule of thumb was, for every 1 minute of content you create, it's 3 minutes worth of work. And for most visual and audio mediums, it is the rule. Like, I reckon it is probably 3 minutes worth of work for every 1 minute of content I produce. And it's fascinating to see that is the case. But yeah, it is. It's one of those things where it's like, oh wait, I have this great idea. I'd love to do a podcast, and then 3 years later, you're like, oh, all my energy's been sucked into this black hole that is audio editing. Help, it's fascinating. But how did you realize initially that you had missed out on some like key cultural cornerstones as a kid?
So I guess it's not really that I realized that I had missed out on something later or whatever. I think it's more that I tend to not be all that trendy to begin with. I don't, and if people that are around me, or particularly like people I work with, or people at school, if I'm going to class or whatever, if they're if popular culture, quote unquote, is obsessed with something, I'm typically not consuming it, generally speaking. And that could be because I just don't want to follow the trendy course or whatever in my nature, or I'm obsessed with something that I already missed out on, and like that's the rabbit hole that I'm currently down. And I already have what I kind of describe as an obsessive personality when it comes to the entertainment that I consume. I don't go like an inch deep across a lot of different entertainment interests. I tend to go miles deep in one or two. And so it kind of if I'm consuming it, it sort of consumes me in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And that, I think it's really great for like a podcast format, just like as a weird side note.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what that does is it sort of makes me hesitant, even if I think that whatever they're describing to me sounds like it would be interesting. I'm like, if I really am going to get into this thing, there's a chance that this could like be a significant portion of my life over the next months, years, whatever, because I know I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. If I really like it, I'm going to find the podcasts about it. I'm going to find the YouTubers that are talking about it. I'm going to find the theories. I'm going to find the additional content. I'm going to find the companion shows. I'm going to go all the way in. And sometimes I'm just not like really in that headspace to take on something new in the moment just because all these people told me that it was great. I'm like, I don't want this to take over a portion of my life for the next 2 years and then look up and go, oh, look, my hair's grayer. And this whole time I've just been, consuming all of this random shit about this new show or whatever that I liked. But then I end up, for one reason or another, like, okay, I remember hearing good things about this. Let me give it a shot now. When I can binge it, when I can do the thing, and it's like, oh, if it doesn't hit right off the bat, like, I'm out. If it does, like, I'm all the way in. And that typically, like I said, that typically is how it goes. With Harry Potter, the current binge that I'm doing, it was actually my wife. We were living together, and I went my entire life. As soon as I got home from whatever job I was doing, like, the TV was on sports.
Yeah.
And if it's anywhere close to basketball season, that's literally doesn't come off of my TV.
Yeah.
My wife could not give a fuck about sports.
Oh, yeah.
Zero. Zero shits. And so when I come home and we turn the TV on for dinner, I would, by default, start to go to sports, and I stopped myself. And then I'd go through the guide. And I'm like, what is something she might actually care about? And I knew she liked Harry Potter well enough, so I would turn those movies on.
Mm.
And I kept asking her questions. Like, I don't understand what's happening. Like, what is going on? What's this weird spidey, tingly thing in his ears in these movies? Like, I don't get it. She's like, you wouldn't get it. You didn't read the books. And then something would happen. What the hell was that? Like, she's like, I don't know. You'd have to read the books. It's better in the books. And after telling me that about 1,000 times, I was like, okay, I'm going to read these fucking books. So I know what the hell's going on because I keep turning these movies on so that we have something not sports to watch together. And I'm clueless and I'm annoying. So I'm going to read them. And I listened to the audiobooks, and then I listened to them again. And then I found MuggleCast and listened to bits of them again. And then I found YouTube and other podcasts. And I was like, okay, so now I'm in this weird fandom. I find out I start doing math, and I'm like, okay, so I'm about damn near the exact same age as the Harry Potter character in the movies. I've been told all my life, like, hey, you know who you look like? Harry Potter? Yeah, you do. Like, never heard it.
The amount of times like people are just immediately compared to Harry Potter, like, it happens way more often. Like, I have a group of friends, and the three of us, one's a ginger, one's a woman, and then there's me. And so, like, I defaulted to Harry. Like, everyone's like, you're the Harry Potter of the group. And I'm like, oh, I really don't want to be the Harry Potter of the group. Like,
I was at a Halloween party. This is timely because the time we're recording this. And this was right before the pandemic, right? So my wife and I just got married. This was our first like couples costume thing. We went to a friend's house for the thing. We don't do costumes. Like, we're not big Halloween people, but we had shit in our closet, and we went for as Jim and Pam from The Office. Yeah. I wore contacts. I shaved. I tried to do the flippy thing that he does with his hair. And I was wearing a dress shirt and tie, like Jim from The Office.
Yeah.
I didn't get one foot in this door, and somebody drunk that I'd never met in my life started shouting, "Harry Potter!"
Oh.
And for the entire night, I was either Dan Radcliffe or Harry Potter to this stranger. I'm like, no, we're doing the Office thing.
Yeah.
My friend, but okay. That's kind of where it was.
I was at a Halloween party last night as of recording, and I'm not very good at costumes. Halloween's not very like a big Australian thing. Like capitalism obviously likes to like play it in, but we often use Halloween as the excuse just to get together as friends and like have a bit of a party and drink alcohol, etc., etc. And I think that it was a friend of mine gave me the idea to dress up as the baker from Into the Woods. What I didn't realize when she gave me this idea is that the baker is played by James Corden, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing if it wasn't the fact that a lot of people just regularly compare me to James Corden, which is it's like it gets annoying after a while. Everyone, please,
I told this story on my podcast. That's part of the reason why I didn't like finish reading the series as a kid. When you're made fun of for looking like Harry Potter all your life, you're not going to pick up the books and be like, "Oh, who's this character that everybody makes fun of me for looking like?"
Oh yeah, all the time. Or the problem, a part of the problem, the reason why we didn't watch a lot of TV as kids is I'm the eldest of 10. So even when I was in like upper primary school, there was like 4 or 5 siblings underneath me, and we, had a lot of shenanigans where I would go to put something on TV, something I wanted to watch, and I'm like, no, we don't want to watch that. Let's watch this, and we default to the things we already knew. So we didn't watch, a whole bunch of things. I had to, as an adult, go through these iconic TV shows and iconic Australian TV shows that really my citizenship should be revoked at this point, because I don't think I've watched enough Australian TV, like things like Round the Twist, Dance Academy, those kind of things I haven't watched. And so I've had to like start re-educating myself about this kind of stuff, and it is hard.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as a kid, it made total sense why you would watch it, because like it's meant for kids. Not anymore. Like Harry Potter is a little bit timeless, and I can see why people, can watch it. But there are some of those things that's like, this is really meant for children.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. And I can't go back to a lot of the stuff that I even liked as a kid. Outside of nostalgia factor, it's like cringe, and okay, that was a fun 20 minutes of my life. When my daughter was born, I tried to put on Rugrats.
Yeah.
That was rough, man. And Rugrats is classic. I loved Rugrats as a kid. And if she tried it in a couple years, I'm sure we would probably just get to a later season, because I went season 1. I was like, if I'm going to do it, we're going season 1, episode 1. Holy shit, this animation is bad. Oh, this is awkward. Wow, these parents are incredibly neglectful. Like, it's just a completely different mindset when you're watching some of this stuff now as an adult. And some of it, I'm just like, nope, I don't want to watch it from this lens. I just want to remember it fondly and move on with my life and just have a happy memory.
Yeah, makes total sense. It's so fascinating to like review something like that and go, oh, that's why I don't like this or have decided against doing this, because it's fascinating. It is very fascinating to like, as an adult, go, other adults created this, and as an adult, I don't like it. I don't know. The vibes aren't right.
Yeah, I like certain I like a certain bit of nods to the adults in the kids shows now. Having a young one, I watch so much Bluey. Shout out to
I love Bluey. Yeah.
To Your Backyard. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But it's so good to me because, one, the people who wrote it clearly had kids.
Yeah.
And two, there's enough sprinkled in there for the adults to laugh at that I get to have some enjoyment in it too. Like some of my favorite like episodes have the funniest, just blatantly making fun of like human culture at this point moments, and I'm just like the marketplace, I think is the one episode called where the one kid who's supposed to eat all organic and stuff. Yeah, does this have wheat or gluten or sugar or dairy in it? And the guy looks at her and just goes, "That's all it has in it."
Yeah.
It just brings me so much joy every time.
My favorite one that I really resonated with was the one that they went swimming in the pool, and the dad took him to the pool, but he didn't bring anything with him.
It was literally just on in my house before I came down here. Yep.
And
awesome.
Vivid memories of my father taking us to a neighbor's pool down the street and clearly not bringing the things that are required to, have ourselves not miserable by the time we got back home. And it's just like, I turned around, I was like, huh? Yep, I can see that. Definitely can see that. Like, it's a nice idea to try to like not bring all this stuff, but then you have these miserable children, and it's no
sunscreen, no food, no floaties, no goggles, no toys, no anything. Just throw them in the pool and stick to the shade.
Yeah, my father's the kind of person who will bring one towel, and everyone just needs to make sure they've got sun cream on because it is Australia, and he doesn't care. And then we'd all finish up, and we're like, "Where's the towels?" And us older kids have caught on, and we'll bring our own, and so therefore we've got like enough because we're not stupid. We're not falling for this trick again of being miserable and cold, or it's hilarious.
Yeah. Yep. I'm a big Bluey fan.
Oh, it's literally like the city I live in at the moment. The jacarandas are turning purple. Out my window, I can see the skyline of the city. I was walking around where parts of Bluey are set. Through this week as I walk through the city, it's lovely to see where I live represented in such a cool way as well.
Nice. Very nice.
But yeah.
I had no idea it was actually based on anything real. I guess you could say, you know what I mean? Like, just visually.
It makes sense. Like you think, I think a kid's TV show, nah, it's not going to be like based on like a physical location. But no, it's based on the city of Brisbane. And in fact, in the background, you can see like this hill with a church on it. And it's like an iconic landmark for like one of some of the inner city suburbs. It's like, the church on the hill, where they go and have the ice creams, and they're sitting like on the bench near the path is like our South Bank precinct, which was developed for like the 88 World Fair that came here. And so we've got, all of these like lovely paths and luscious like trees and stuff. There's a beach in the middle of the CBD that smells disgustingly like chlorine, and we've made jokes about how disgusting it is, but is a pretty iconic like landmark. My brothers and I just sit and watch as adults and go, "Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that."
My kid would have a fake little Play-Doh ice cream cone and walk in circles around my house, like getting herself all super dizzy during that part, and then dump it in the floor when the ice cream melts. She just reenacts that over and again. Okay, rewind it. Do it again. Again. Rewind. Again. Yep, that's I'm with you. Like I said, but I had no idea. I figured that part was not just completely made up out of somebody's brain with the setting that they're in there, that like park and with like the water coming out of but as far as the rest of it, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, there's houses and there's streets, and it's a little city. Like, it could be anywhere, right? Like, I never thought of it as an actual cartoon representation of a real place. Huh.
Yeah. It's so amazing. Like, I have friends of mine who work in animation and stuff, and and I think we were just chatting about this on the Deus Ex Media Discord about like iconic award-winning, shows that really just represent who you are, and I think it is just so fascinating to like be able to be represented, and it is very fulfilling. So you're as so many tangents. Wow. As you were, I'm like trying to pull myself out of each one of them. As started watching Harry Potter and things like that, and asking all these questions. When did you realize that that maybe like this is something that people would resonate with? Keep having to catch up on a piece of media that they missed out.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if I thought about it from the angle of somebody thinking that they were necessarily. I mean, I figured that I wasn't the only person in the world that didn't do a thing and now has done a thing and can talk about it. Like, there's definitely podcasts out there that I heard where it was pretty much a formula of like one host had read a thing or seen a thing and the other host hadn't. So then they do it, an episode at a time or a chapter at a time or whatever, and like and it's spoiler free, so the person can just consume. And I was like, okay, so there's something to that. There's definitely interest in that in people's listening habits. I'm having a hell of a time listening to it, so other people are as well. So there was that piece. I figured I wasn't, like I said, the only person in the world that was late on anything, but also the idea that you could be late on it and then really, really enjoy it to a point where you really like dive into like the whole thing. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I introduce myself to people with my Hogwarts house and I'm cosplaying on the weekends. Like I'm not that deep into the Harry Potter fandom in that way, but I sure as hell respect the people that are at this point with a different, in a different way than I did before I read the series, where I just thought, wow, those people are really into Harry Potter. Like, I don't know why, but they are really into that Harry Potter thing. I mean, you're a grown up. Like, you're still this into Harry Potter. I'm surprised, but okay, do you? Was kind of my thought process. And now I get why people are this gung ho about the series. And I was like, okay, if I can get this into something after being late to it or whatever, like maybe I can make a compelling conversation sort of along those lines. But at the same time, I knew, at least in my head, I wanted the discussion to be around the thing more than around me. And so I had to have something interesting to say about it. And I was like, okay, with Harry Potter, like this thing's been around for 20 years. Is there a single original thought to be had at this point? And it kind of came to me one day. I was listening to Mugglecast, and they posed some kind of question. They were talking about I don't know if I was listening to a fresh episode or if I was in their like archives in some of their chapter by chapter stuff. I don't even remember what caused me to do it, but they talked about a certain point in the series, and it was around. I know you're familiar with it. You've been on the restricted section before. Yeah. You were actually just on there at the time of this recording.
I'm everywhere. I think I'm set to be on a My Cabbages episode soon. I don't know whether it came out this week or not. There was an episode. It was so many things to keep track of that I've forgotten when things were. Yeah.
No, for sure. But it was this. I started having this theory in my head of Voldemort's Horcruxes. Sorry, spoiler alert for the people that haven't watched it or read it for 15 years since it ended. But it was about his Horcruxes, and in particular, the hiding places. And I started to develop this theory of like how the hiding place was tied to the Horcrux itself and the death that went along with it, and ultimately what it means to Voldemort. And so that's how he determined the hiding place and the protections around it. And I started just like typing out this email to MuggleCast for like about this theory I was having in like real time while I was supposed to be working. And I was like, you know what? Maybe there is. And maybe I could actually talk about something in a way that could be interesting to people, that they, in a way that you haven't heard before. It would be completely from like an adult perspective. It would be so I don't have the nostalgia. I remember when I was 12 and reading this series for the first time, I didn't realize that the government could be corrupt. And it's like, well, nope, I was 25 or 26 or whatever, and I was pretty damn sure it could. And that sort of thing. But it was kind of that combination. And I was kicking around a few different series to get started with, and it was kind of a slow snowball into even more the theories and the headcanon stuff, and that fascinates me so much. I'm as fascinated with Harry Potter about what's not on the page as what is.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? This is how I talk about it. You know, and catch the Easter eggs as we're reading along, do some foreshadowing stuff, you know what I mean, and bring light to that stuff as like, this is a reread. If you haven't read them before, my show is going to spoil the shit out of you like that. It just is. But I was like, yeah, I can probably do something with this. And this has the robust fandom after so long to still be this engaged, to have this many. I didn't have any idea that there were so many Harry Potter podcasts.
Oh yeah.
When I kind of became one. And I was like, oh, maybe this wasn't the best call. Like, one, yeah, all of these exist, so there's interest and intrigue, but like, there's a lot of us swimming in this sea, and how the heck do you get? No, I almost wonder if I dove into something that was almost too saturated to stand out, but it was. It told me that there was at least an audience that would be open to additional perspectives and additional content even after this long. And so I was like, you know what? If I'm going to, of the ones I was kicking around, I was like, if I'm going to start somewhere, this is probably the one to start with and see if it could even have legs.
Yeah, and it's always that initial like start, and it's like, yeah, I've got these ideas, I can't hear them anywhere. Although, let's be honest, I think everyone's made this commentary. There are a lot of Harry Potter podcasts. Not that it's a bad thing. Many. Like, it just forces people to be way more creative than, you know, the bare minimum.
And the thing that I really like about them is that I have collaborated with several of them. We go on each other's Harry Potter podcast. Like, it's not a weirdly... I'm sure that, you know, deep down, if you ask people, you're like, yeah, if somebody's making a list of the best Harry Potter podcasts, I want to be, you know, above all these other ones. But like, it's not rooted in. That's more just, you know, you want people to listen to your podcast, not like ill feelings towards the other ones that exist. And it's not like uber competitive like that. So that's been super fascinating. I have made contacts with people that I otherwise literally would never have known their names or like got to talk to them or had stimulating conversations, and that's been really cool. And I also I forgot to mention that as I was narrowing things down, the two other series I was considering starting with also had actors and actresses from those series in the middle of podcasts that were exploding on the internet, doing the exact same like format. And I'm like, well, can't compete with that. So let's take a shot.
Yeah, if you can't beat them, join them, right? You know, and it's so fascinating to like sit there and go, I have an idea, and then watching, like, at least from my perspective, watching now people have an idea and then act upon that idea and fulfill it. I just helped a friend of mine launch her podcast. I have other friends of mine who've launched their podcasts. Most of us are journalism students, so we're like trying to, you know, make our way into the industry and things like that. And it's like, wow, these people are like got this incredible success and are so passionate about what they do. And I'm so excited to, and collaborating with people as well. And, it's so exciting to be, a part of a community that like of people just in general of who are like so excited about podcasting or creating content or chatting about media. Because I had Caitlin on a few weeks ago. We talked about, the dissecting movies in an intersectional feminism way, the Bechdel cast and things like that. And it was like, I was like, wait a second, there is these really cool, like, people who are creating content that is really interesting to listen to. Like, you're not feeling bored by it, which is something that you don't often say about all things, But,
yeah, for sure.
There's like a group of people creating really amazing content and collaborating with each other. You get to see them everywhere, and it's amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the coolest part about this so far for me is like this shit. Like, you're in Australia. I am so not in Australia. Like, when would the two of us have a conversation in life ever?
Oh, never.
Without this, I wouldn't know you exist until you make it big as like a journalist, and I see you, on TV or some shit, and I just like you're just a head on a screen. Yeah. But, like, we would never have a conversation if it wasn't for podcasting and this little network again of I am actually I'm fascinated by you all over at Deus Ex Media, just that array of different podcasts and that little network that you have established and branded and turned into like a cool little collaboration space where you go on each other's shows. You always have creative outlets. You always have collaborators. You always have sounding boards and people and supportive people, and people to give constructive feedback and to help you with ideas of growth and of all kinds of just a constant like companionship through this podcasting journey that you all have, even though, again, you're in Australia and a whole bunch of them are so not, but like it still is a very connecting tissue, and it's fascinating to me as somebody who's literally doing this. Yeah, I am sitting in my basement because my wife has condemned me to it for podcasting, and I do this, solo, soup to nuts, and unless. Yeah,
it's fascinating. I like people ask me from time to time, why did you join, a network? Did you need to join a network? What was the point in doing that? And I think my parents also asked these things when I first started out as well. And when I went and visited the States in July this year and met, Alex and Zach and Charlie and Christina and the rest of the gang from the restricted section, it was like I came back and I was like, that is why, these people are all here. We all support each other. And while I'm halfway around the world and often feel very isolated regardless, having all of us together is just like something that I work collaboratively in general, and then be able to have people who are supporting me in my personal pursuits and a whole bunch of other bits and pieces is way more important than I ever really give credit for. It's amazing.
Yeah, I've thought about it before as somebody who's doing this literally on my own from the basement. I've thought about like, what would that dynamic be like, and I'm not jealous isn't the word, but I'm I'm fascinated that you all have it, and so I as a person from the outside, kind of like watching it, it's really cool to see. I don't know if anybody else that's outside of you all's little circle would tell you that, so I am.
Oh, that's lovely. It's fascinating, and every now and then I go, I wonder if I went alone, what it would be like. Or like, I very much like, I don't know whether you've seen Community, but like the dark, like, I wonder what's happening in the darkest timeline kind of like question. And it's like, not that it would be the quote unquote darkest timeline, but it is a fascinating like thought aspect of like, I wonder where I would have been if I had to go this alone. And like my idea when I pitched it to Christina and the gang was pretty out there. Like it wasn't an idea that was going to get off the ground easily, and it needed a lot more work and a lot more behind the scenes work than I think any of us really give credit for. And it's one of those things that like I now can leverage, the friends that Christina has who would be willing to jump on the podcast, friends that I've made, being able to make this podcast, and a whole bunch of other really cool things is amazing.
And a list of 100 potential guests.
And at least
you would have had to come up with that damn thing.
Oh, I credit Christina with most of those. The list is long, and I like it because it's a good fallback of like, okay, these are the people that I probably need to contact if I am not desperate, but if I'm like looking for guests who are a little bit more familiar with what I do, which is amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you created Belated Binge, and how was creating a podcast as a solo, which is and be on that like aspect, what was your like experience creating the podcast?
It was interesting. So obviously we didn't go viral day one by any stretch of the imagination, and didn't really expect to, but no, it was one of those things where as soon as I got kind of started, I was like, oh, okay, now the wheels are turning. You know what I mean? Like, because you put so much time and energy and thought and research into how to get it off of the ground and how to actually get a podcast recorded and get it to the world. That's your venture for however long it takes you. And I was planning for a while, probably a year, before I actually like turned the mic on and put something out there. And it was a really interesting process as I did it. And then again, like as soon as I launched, then it was sort of like other kind of like other experiences that I have in life start to kind of like tingle, and it's kind of how do I put it here? Like I'm, I have the radio background kicked in, immediately, because it was like, okay, I'm doing this by myself, right? Like my show, while I do enjoy getting guests on to go through the chapters, most of the episodes so far have been solo. So how am I going to sit here and talk to myself for 45 minutes about a book written for children? How's that actually going to work? How am I going to keep it from getting monotonous and me just rambling on? Okay, yeah. So I came up with these segments, and it was stuff that I could fall back on and know, hey, I can, when it comes time to prep for this, I don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time for every single episode to make every single episode interesting. If I put them into these specific segments, then I know, oh, so for the divination segment, I need to pull out some foreshadowing from this chapter. What are those moments that I can give? Here's a section where I call it house points. I'm going to talk about the characters I liked and didn't like, and I'm going to arbitrarily give them points. And these are the new segments as of season 2. The season 1, when I first started, had basically the same concepts but different names. I was making everything sports themed. Making everything sports themed for Harry Potter content probably wasn't my best foot forward for the first book, but you learn that stuff. But then I've got the bit at the end where I'm pretty much making fun of it. Like what if this didn't make any sense? Because these books were written for kids. and sometimes plot happens, and you just have to laugh when you're an adult. And so I put that in there. I wanted to make sure that I gave a thorough enough review of the chapter that somebody who's listening to my podcast could feel like they were doing a reread without actually having to pick up a book.
Yeah.
And so that was a big piece of like kind of starting from there. And then I wanted a bit of more of like a deep dive, theory-ish, headcanon-ish, segment to kind of talk about the stuff that is going on, but you're not reading it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Dumbledore stuff in my podcast, with his like master plan and what strings is he pulling behind the scenes, and so I was like, okay, these are different segments, and this keeps it interesting when I'm doing this by myself for people to hear. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm doing segments. Guess what I need? I need liners. I need music beds. I need to get into these, and so the audio production side comes out, and I was having a lot of fun putting it together. And then immediate from launch, it's like, okay, now I work in digital advertising.
Yeah.
Granted,
yeah.
My expertise is with companies' paid budgets. I don't have a budget. So it's like creatively thinking, okay, I know marketing, but my skills are mostly when you have money behind it. How do I do this when you don't? And so I get to kind of go, think differently, I guess, in that way, in trying to get people to hear the damn thing. And I started finding other like independent podcasters on like Twitter and stuff like that, the kind of like the Pod Nation network, where there's opportunities for like promo swaps. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm making a promo so that I can swap promos with other podcasters to play each other's promos in our shows. And I'm trying, I was trying some like Facebook ads, and I just recently actually did a new way of podcast audio like ads, like getting like placing ads into other podcasts and stuff, and it's just been fun to go to, again, pull from different areas that I didn't really think of at the time when I was like, hey, I just want to talk about some cool stuff and try to make an interesting show. But it's been fascinating, to say the least. And I'm pretty good at rambling, apparently, because
it's one of those fascinating things where there's so many different skills that you pick up and like realize you've got to learn. You mentioned before, suddenly you're a marketing, you're doing marketing, and then like on the flip side, then you sit there and I'm about to do this. I graduate university at the end of, by the next episode coming out after this one, I will have graduated, finished university. My graduation ceremony is not through till December, but I sat down. I'm gonna have to sit down and go, very minutely through this podcast and experiment with editing and music and audio production and a whole bunch of other bits and pieces that, to be honest, I haven't had a lot of time to experiment with. But like, go, can I improve this? What ways can I improve this so I can make sure that everything is fine. Make sure everything's up and like optimized as much as possible. And it's so fascinating to be able to be in a position where I can do that.
And I've gone through ebbs and flows, right? Because I'm also, I'm also a dad. This is very much my kind of side hobby, if you will. It has not turned into a lucrative, monetary monster of additional income stream for my family at this point. That would be the ultimate goal for it, but that has not happened. And so I've had these moments where I'm like, do I want to keep doing this in this first year? But then I get like that one nugget, like I'll get a patron that signs up, and it's like, oh shit, somebody is actually willing to pay me money for this content that I am creating. And it's like, an extra wave of motivation, I guess.
Yeah,
to like, okay,
100%.
how can I actually try to do this thing, in the literal minutes at a time that I get to dedicate towards it. It's been fascinating. It's been a fun little ride. And I'm hoping to continue it beyond Harry Potter and into some of those other series that I was late on and that a lot of people like, and hopefully have new ways of talking about them and puns I can come up with for segment titles.
Yeah. I was about to ask, what are you hoping the future looks like for you?
Yeah, I mean, so we're doing Harry Potter, obviously. So I plan to see those through, the books at least. I never intended for this to be a Harry Potter podcast, quote unquote. So I don't know what a transition would look like how much, Potter content might stick around beyond the books, and into other stuff. I haven't totally even decided if I will 100% do all the books in succession and not start sprinkling in some of those other series that I was late on to kind of break it up. Like, obviously not just kill Potter, but when do I start introducing those? And so I'm kind of kicking that around too. But yeah, the goal and the hope is to see the Harry Potter stuff through. Maybe have some kind of evergreen, Potter talk as I get into some of the other series. I hint, one of them may or may not be one of the most popular sitcoms of ever. That I just need the damn receptionist and the accounting person to stop doing their podcasts so that anybody might actually want to listen to. The Office. The Office.
But it is fascinating. You sit down and you're like, oh, what's next? And it's like, oh, now I've got to think about the stuff that's next. And as you said, it's like, whoa, I want to do this, but these other people are doing it, and the whole, are people going, is this going to be suitable? It's almost like repitching the podcast again as you move on.
Well, yeah, and there's always in the back of your head, or at least in the back of mine, I do worry, okay, I'm starting to build an audience for Potter.
Yeah.
Are they going to give a shit about the next series that I want to talk about? Are they here to hear me and my way of going through it because they're interested in the way that I'm doing it and they're going to actually want to hear me talk about another series? Or are they here because they love Harry Potter and they want the experience of rereading it with me as a companion along the way? If that's why you're listening to me, great. But how do I keep you around too as I start to bring other series into the fold? And that's questions I don't have answers to yet, what that's going to look like, if it's literally staying true to Potter all the way through, and then maybe doing, I don't know if it's patrons only content that is Harry Potter, just from now until the end of when I can do it, or if it's, like I said, doing, bringing some series in and doing a season on a different thing, and then bringing, Potter back, or doing a mixed season where it's releasing a Potter episode and then releasing an Office episode or a Sons of Anarchy episode, or whatever next series that I start consuming, because I've still never seen Game of Thrones, I've still never seen Breaking Bad, I've still never seen Walking Dead, I've still never seen all of these things that people really like. So
every series you've mentioned bar Harry Potter, not seen either. It's right. It's like, oh no, don't know any of this.
And do I do any of them? Do I adjust format a little bit and do any of them as I'm experiencing them for the first time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do I do my first watch through or whatever? I can tell you with pretty I feel pretty good about the idea that it's going to be TV after Potter.
Yeah.
I'm not a big reader, and I don't see me becoming one.
Yeah.
Between now and then, but yeah, it's I have I have little arguments with myself all the time about what this thing looks like long term. But right now, I'm getting ready to wrap up the first year, and in doing so, I'll be wrapping up the second book.
Yeah.
So it's been fun so far.
Yeah, and all the best for the future. I'm so excited to see what happens in the future. It's a fascinating aspect to, I think, we assume so often that, like, culture is this homogenous thing, but we've got to realize that people do miss out on, like, quote-unquote key cultural cornerstones, things like The Office and Harry Potter and Breaking Bad, and, you know, people miss out on these things, and you've got to... there is a significant portion of people who have and want to catch up, maybe just want the cliff notes or something, so that, you know, they can hold a conversation with someone about it. It's fascinating, and I really do enjoy it. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, thank you. I was just gonna say, and our podcast is gonna be the medium.
Yeah,
I mean, they're huge right now. You know, are we all going to be switching to YouTube videos, or are we going to have to do everything on TikTok, or what? You know, what's it going to look like?
Editing my face is a scary thing. So I'm happy with podcasts right now, but who knows? You know, and you're very right. You know, and you know, our podcast is going to stick around. You know, they've been around for a while.
They have.
Things naturally die, and we've always got to be ready for like that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. No, this has been a lot of fun, though. I do appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah. So speaking of TikTok, I'm there. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at Belated Binge. The website is belatedbinge.com, and the podcast is should be on every pod player that exists, but it's definitely on all the majors, your Spotify's, your Apple Podcasts, and all of that, and I think that's everywhere.
Yeah. And personally, do you want to be found somewhere, or
through the podcast is fine. I've got it. I've got some like cross-linking there, so if you can look up Belated Binge, let's keep it simple.
Yeah. Awesome. And has there been any media that you've been watching and consuming that you wanted to plug?
That's a great question. For this particular podcast, with the way that you are geared towards the adulting world, I've got a bit of an oddball for you.
Awesome.
So there's a podcast that I listen to. It is called the Ryan Russillo podcast. He is an ex-ESPN person, now works at The Ringer, talks sports. But at the end of every single episode is a segment that they do called Life Advice. And emailers email in, and it's kind of a big joke because the guy's like, I literally sit in my basement and watch sports my entire life, but like people want him and the producers opinions on the stuff that they're going through, and it's fascinating. If I don't care about the guest or the teams that he's talking about, or even the sport that he's talking about, I will skip to Life Advice. If you listen on Spotify, because The Ringer's owned by Spotify, so the podcast is everywhere, but Spotify in particular has the timestamps, so you can literally just pull up the description and click to the Life Advice. I will listen to that of every single episode. It's like 3 episodes a week or something like that. It's hysterical to listen to these guys just like talk about these emailers as they bring up, and a lot of it is early 20-somethings navigating life. There's some like fitness stuff in there. There's some professional stuff in there. There's broadcasting stuff in there. There's journalism stuff in there. Like it's
love it. Yeah,
it's a tie you wouldn't expect to have to your show.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love those kind of things. It's one of those few things that's like, someone with more experience than me should be probably giving advice on what I should be doing. I love that. Amazing. Well, you can find me at sam.the.journalist on Instagram and on TikTok, and at samobjournalist on Twitter. This week, I am going to plug Anzac biscuits. If you've not had Anzac biscuits before, I'll pop a recipe in the description. It's the recipe that I use all the time. They're amazing. It's so delicious. We made Anzac biscuits last week, and I was just hungry, and I was like, wait, these are amazing, delicious. I need to do this more often. So I definitely suggest making Anzac biscuits. It's flour and oats and a coconut with golden syrup, and some, what else is in there? Sorry, golden syrup and butter, and you mix together, you cook it. I think they're more cookies is the way they're defined in the US, but they're delicious and
they're
just
delicious
the right amount of
everywhere.
chewy. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Zac, for coming on the podcast. I've so enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Thank you for listening to Content and Capable. You can follow the podcast socials at Content, the letter N, Capable on Instagram and Twitter. You can send an email to contentandcapablepod@gmail.com. Please give us a review on iTunes or Spotify to help others know that you love this podcast. The art was done by Opia. You can follow them at opia_art_. Opia is spelled OPIA. Feel free to message them about making art for your project. Our music was written, recorded, and edited by Isabel Strauss-Reeds. You can find Izzy at Kane_I. That's I is in the body part. On Instagram and Twitter, and on YouTube at KaneI with no spaces. Feel free to message her about making music for your project or editing your podcast.
Coffee, tea, honor, cabbage. Long ago, the four elements lived in harmony. Then, shit went totally cray when the Avatar attacked. Only the Cabbage Man, merchant of fine cruciferous vegetables, could stand against his trolling. But when the world needed some dank veg, he vanished. 10 years have passed, and my partner and I have started a new podcast.
My cabbages! An Avatar podcast.
A weekly show about Avatar The Last Airbender. Whether it's Sokka's new line of cologne,
Hey, look at you, sitting there on a seal. Well, now look back at me. I'm on an even bigger seal. Now look away.
D&D related antics,
You have to make an acrobatics check for that, and Aang just unzips his pants and whips out his D20s. He's just like, I got this.
or randomly breaking into song.
Bending waterfall.
We'll stumble our way through the greatest show ever made, one episode at a time.
You can reach us at CabbageCast, which is our Twitter, or
Subscribe wherever you catch pod.
Rotten cabbages? What kind of slum do you think this is?
Content and Capable is a podcast all about answering the question, how do you adult? Don't forget to rate and review, and I will see you next Monday for another episode.
Deus Ex Media.